A brand new houseboat arrives at the marina, delivered directly from the manufacturer. The owner boards it, casts off, and within hours the boat is taking on water at the slip. Fluids leaking into the bilge, electronics failing. The boat sinks at the marina on delivery day. The manufacturer built it wrong from the start, and the owner had no recourse. Meanwhile, someone else buys what looks like a solid older houseboat for $30,000. They pull up the carpet to replace the flooring and open Pandora's box. The entire subfloor structure is rotted through. Not surface rot, structural rot. The hull is deforming under its own weight, and the repair estimate exceeds what they paid for the boat. These are not isolated cases. They are the pattern on specific makes and models flooding the used market right now. We are breaking down exactly which 3 houseboats to avoid and which 4 are worth your money. Please subscribe if this video is helpful. Gibson fiberglass houseboats, built before 1990, have a systemic structural flaw that makes them one of the riskiest purchases on the used market. Gibson used fiberglass hull shells, but built the interior skeleton from plywood. The stringers, deck framing, and subfloor structure were all constructed from wood and then encased in fiberglass. That creates a sealed trap for moisture. Any deck seam failure, compromised screw hole, or roof leak allows water to reach the wood from inside. It cannot drain out and cannot dry. The rot spreads silently through the structural core, completely invisible until the floor starts flexing underfoot or falls through entirely. Those stringers are what hold the hull in its V-shaped cross-section. When they rot and lose rigidity, the hull deforms under the weight of everything above. In one extensively documented case, removing the rotted stringers from a 1973 Gibson caused the hull bottom to immediately rise and deform while the boat was still in the water. The owner was living aboard at the time. The boat was collapsing under its own weight mid-slip. The manufacturer no longer provides repair manuals for vintage models. The twin Chrysler 318 V-drive engines found in many of these boats are approaching 6 decades old with near unobtainable parts. When you see a Gibson from this era listed for $15,000 as a project boat, understand that the restoration will almost certainly cost more than the finished boat is worth. Marine survey professionals treat ROT on older Gibsons as near certain. The phrase you hear repeatedly is, "Every old Gibson has rot." The question is, how bad? Bravada Yachts entered bankruptcy and was purchased around 2020 by new ownership with virtually no background in building luxury houseboats. What followed became one of the most documented quality failures in recent houseboat production history. The sales structure allowed buyers to pay large deposits without any disclosed production timeline. A provision in the transaction process allowed the company to hold off on production until 80% of shares on each boat sold, a term buyers were not informed about during the sales process. Buyers paid in full and waited, sometimes for years. The boats that were completed told the rest of the story. A Bravada houseboat documented under the name The Pearl was delivered with substandard electrical work throughout, poor fit and finish, and mechanical systems that failed on initial inspection. The owner paid tens of thousands bringing in outside contractors to fix what should have come correctly from the factory. Despite those repairs, the boat eventually sank at its marina slip. Forum witnesses described it as leaking fluids and taking on water from the very first launch. The company operated under several entity names including Atlatl Group, Riviera Penthouses LLC, Havasu Yachts, and Destination Yachts. Every one of those entities has since collapsed. The manufacturing facility sits unoccupied. Customers who paid deposits and received nothing have filed complaints with no clear path to recovery. Holiday Mansion was founded in 1965 in Salina, Kansas, and built thousands of houseboats in the 29 to 49 foot range over 3 decades. Wide beam, shallow draft, and low operating costs made them commercially popular across lake and coastal rental fleets. But the parent company, Mohawk Inc., was officially reported out of business in 1997. The brand changed hands, the second owner eventually ceased operations as well, and what remains is a large inventory of orphaned boats with no manufacturer support. The critical failure point on most models from this era is the sterndrive system. The majority of their houseboats were built around twin inboard-outboard sterndrive configurations using Volvo Penta or Mercruiser drive units. Sterndrive bellows are the rubber boots sealing the drive unit to the transom. When they fail, water enters directly through the transom into the bilge. A bellows failure can sink a houseboat in a matter of hours. On a current boat with an active dealer network, this is a routine service item. On a holiday mansion, you are dealing with aging rubber on a discontinued platform with no parts catalog behind it. One owner documented the Volvo Penta outdrive lower unit lifting out of the water every time the boat engaged reverse, a failure tied to the reverse lock mechanism. The components required sourcing through marine salvage because the supply chain is gone. Before purchasing any holiday mansion from the original production run, get a full marine survey and assume any major drive or steering repair will require salvage sourcing rather than a dealer call. The price always looks attractive. The support ecosystem does not exist. Since 1953, Sumerset Houseboats has been building out of Monticello, Kentucky, and is the benchmark every serious houseboat buyer should be measuring against. Sumerset was among the first manufacturers to transition to full aluminum hull construction and was the first houseboat builder in the industry to earn certification from the National Marine Manufacturers Association and the American Boat and Yacht Council simultaneously. That dual certification means independent third-party inspectors verify annually that the manufacturer meets or exceeds all federal requirements across electrical systems, fuel systems, ventilation, flotation, and structural integrity. Any manufacturer can claim they build to those standards. Sumerset is verified to prove it. Their aluminum hull uses a patented honeycomb design with structural ribs placed every 16 inches across the hull length and up to 6 cross braces between each rib. Hull sheets are doubled at the bow for impact resistance. The welding department brings over 150 years of combined experience to each build. There is no wood in the structural system, no stringers to rot, no subfloor absorbing moisture, no composite panels delaminating after a decade in a humid marina. Owners who have held Sumerset houseboats for 20 or 30 years consistently report structural inspections that look exactly as they did at delivery. These boats hold up in ways older fiberglass houseboats simply cannot. Stardust Cruisers has been building in Monticello, Kentucky since the 1970s with a reputation built on construction quality and a track record of introducing technologies the rest of the industry eventually adopted. Their patented no-wood wall system replaced moisture-trapping plywood framing with aluminum and fiberglass composite panels that cannot absorb moisture, cannot swell, and do not create hidden rot paths. Stardust also brought bow and stern thrusters to houseboats before the rest of the industry caught up, integrating dedicated jet pump thruster systems with proprietary actuator valves for precise close-quarters docking control. They operate an in-house fiberglass shop and custom cabinetry facility, meaning the same team that builds the hull finishes the interior. Now part of the Trifecta Houseboats family alongside Sumerset and Thoroughbred, every build goes through the same ABYC and NMMA compliance standards. Owners consistently describe these boats as extremely low maintenance between seasons, with no structural surprises waiting under the floor. Skipperliner, based in La Crosse, Wisconsin, is the only houseboat manufacturer in the country that also builds United States Coast Guard certified commercial passenger vessels rated for up to 149 people. Commercial work requires passing USCG inspection standards that go far beyond recreational boat regulations, and that discipline carries directly into their residential houseboat production. Over 1,000 vessels built since 1971. Their facility builds boats up to 150 feet long, entirely indoors under climate-controlled conditions, and they uniquely offer both steel and aluminum hull options. For rocky impoundments like Lake Powell in Utah or Lake Mead in Nevada, where contact with submerged rock is a real operational risk, their steel option provides impact resistance aluminum cannot match. Hull depths reach up to 96 inches, providing genuine ceiling height and below-deck volume. Owner accounts document these boats taking hard use on demanding lake systems and remaining structurally sound long after comparable production houseboats show fatigue at hull-to-deck joints and through hull fittings. Thoroughbred Houseboats is built in Monticello, Kentucky as part of the Trifecta family and represents the most accessible entry point into the construction standards that Sumerset and Stardust established. The aluminum hull, no-wood wall framing, and multi-point pre-delivery inspection are all present in every build. What Thoroughbred provides that the other Trifecta brands cannot is a pricing structure that puts aluminum hull ownership within reach for first-time buyers who would otherwise be pushed toward older fiberglass options on the used market. No plywood stringers to rot, no wood subfloor absorbing dock humidity, no fiberglass-over-wood composite trapping water against the frame. Owners who have run Thoroughbreds for a decade or more report structural inspections that look identical to delivery. Parts support runs through Trifecta's active service operation, meaning no hunting through salvage networks when something needs attention. That price gap between a cheap, older fiberglass boat and a new Thoroughbred disappears entirely the first time a sterndrive bellows fails, a stringer shows rot, or a panel joint begins separating on a boat with no manufacturer left to call. Let us know what you want to see next. To sum it up, Gibson houseboats with rotted wood structural cores, Bravada products from a collapsed ownership group with documented construction failures, and holiday mansions carrying a defunct sterndrive part supply chain are all worth avoiding regardless of asking price. Sumerset, Stardust, Skipperliner, and Thoroughbred have built their reputations over decades, and owner accounts across every major boating forum back them up. Get a marine survey before any used houseboat purchase, think seriously about long-term parts availability, and put your money into a boat whose manufacturer will still be around to support it.